So welcome to the podcast, Jackson. How's it
Thank
going?
you. Great to be here.
How's your day going?
Doing good, enjoying the weather, helping people get on boats.
Beautiful day out,
Doing
right? This
great.
is like perfect boat weather.
Beautiful. March, April, the
Yeah.
best time of the year, spring break.
Yeah.
Everybody's down here. What about you? All good?
Yeah. Doing good.
Awesome, man.
Fun day.
Awesome. Yeah.
I'm excited to record this podcast with you.
Great.
So,
Hope it's good.
yeah,
We'll see.
um, I'm sure it'll be great.
Yeah.
But let's start with the boat rental business and like, where did this idea come from? Why did you want to do this?
Good question. Been selling software to car dealers for the past couple years out of Tarpon Springs, and I've always been around boats. I've always liked boating. I've sailed competitively for 5 years. Probably ended up not doing it as much about a year or two ago, but competitive sailing around Florida, and I've always thought about like how can I monetize a hobby that I have, which is boating.
Okay.
They say a best day of a boater's life is the day he buys one and then the day he sells one. And I had a boat, and so far I don't have the day planned of selling it yet. But I'm like, let's just try and see if I can make any money on the side renting this boat out. And it's been great. I found a platform called Boat Setter, integrates with Geico and Boat US. And it's kind of like Turo, if you've ever heard of, like for
For
cars,
cars,
kind of
yeah.
like Uber, but you can rent a car, private party. And it's been great because the way the insurance works is pretty much when the person takes out the boat, that's the only time you're billed for commercial insurance versus having like a rental policy on it, month to month. So that's a great thing about it. But really just started with one boat, kind of doing it on the side. I had started it on a trailer, and that was an interesting idea because I'm like, "Oh, you know what? Let me just keep the boat on the trailer. Anytime a customer wants the boat, rents the boat, I can just bring it to the boat ramp. It'll be lickety split." And turned out to be not a great idea because as I was pulling up to the marina on a gorgeous Saturday and everybody and their mom is there, and I'm like, "Oh, shoot, I'm like 12 people behind the guy at
Oh,
guy
yeah.
dumping the boat in the water, and I have these renters over here, I'm on this end of the parking lot, and, it just wasn't working out, and then when the renters would come back in, they'd be, like, 8 in line. They
Yeah.
may or may not have driven a boat before, so they were freaking out, so I'm like, "Hey, I'm over here, just you're 4 people behind them. You should be out of the water in 2 hours."
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that wasn't working. I only did that for about 2 trips. Actually, I started the business. Sorry, I started the business about a year ago, last March,
Okay.
and it only took me about a day or 2 to figure out that that was not the way. So I had contacted a good buddy of mine, Matt Gannon, who I used to run Homeport Marina with in high school.
Okay.
He works at Island Harbor Marina, which is just right next door to Ozona Blue. And I'm like, hey, man, I need a slip ASAP for this boat. I tried this trailer thing. It's just not working out. So luckily, he was able to get me a slip there in the water, bottom painted the boat, and started just marketing out of Island Harbor Marina. And it's been great ever since because the boat just sits in the water. You don't have to get, the forklift to put it in. Super seamless. Person meets you at the marina. Hey, meet me behind the main office, yellow and blue shack, and we'll just go
Yeah.
from there.
Yeah.
So it's been great so far. It's been
Yeah.
good. It's a good time.
What yeah, I think it's interesting how you started out, right? Like, oh yeah, let's trailer the boat in.
Definitely,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
learn from your
And quickly,
mistakes.
yeah, quickly
And you learn quick.
pivoted.
Yeah,
Yeah,
fail
yeah.
fast. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the main
That's
thing.
the key, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Um what's been what have you enjoyed about like the boat rental
Uh,
business?
there's a few things to enjoy about it. There's a lot more things to endure with crap breaking,
Yeah.
boats sinking, and motors failing and stuff. But the great thing that makes it all worth it to me is being able to take John and Jill from middle of Iowa and being able to put them on a boat and showing them the real Florida experience. I'm an old school guy. The marina that I'm at is old school, just super simple, and they can go out there for the day and see them leave the dock and they're smiling and they're like, I don't know if I could drive the boat.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to get a picture of them leaving, like, hey, give me a thumbs up. Like, we love marker 26.
Yeah.
They're like, trying to drive the boat. And, when they come back from the day and they have, 20, 30 pictures. We saw dolphins.
Yeah.
Kids got to play in the sand, collected, 6 trash bags full of shells, and really seeing that coming back. It just reminds me of like being a kid and enjoying a boat right off the bat, and seeing them come back to the dock after a great day of being sunburnt, um, and enjoying their trip. And
Yeah.
that's really what it's all about for me, I think. And it just doesn't even seem like work
Right.
at that point.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
that's what I really like
Did you
about it.
grow up in this area?
Yeah, from Ozona
Oh,
originally,
oh,
Palm
cool.
Harbor, Ozona.
Nice.
Yeah. So just being around there, pretty much have worked at every marina in
Marina?
Ozona, the big amount of 5 marinas.
Yeah, right.
Homeport, Island Harbor, um, what was the other one? Ozona Shores and Speckled Trout.
Okay.
Pretty much, I'd get tired of it, leave, go focus on something else, and then I'd get a call from a new marina. Hey, we heard you worked at this marina. Come and work for us.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much Ozona and
So you
growing
grew
up
up
there.
around boats, like
Yeah,
always around
yeah,
boats.
pretty much.
What about sailing? You mentioned like you did competitive sailing. Like what is that like?
S It's crazy. I mean, it's definitely fun and pretty expensive, especially when you break stuff. But competitive sailing, I started out probably like like 7th, 8th grade or something
Are
like
you
that.
buying the boat? Like you own the boat as a and it's
Usually,
your
or you can join a club that, like, has boats there. So I was at a club using the boats there. The boats were, called 420s, and, we would pretty much have a team there, and we would kinda run around Florida, sailing and competing with the other squadrons or clubs around the state, pretty much for fun. And it just got to the point to where it was taking up, like, Saturday and Sunday all day, every day. Didn't really have time, in the weekend, and I pretty much, um, kinda stopped doing it around high school, but owned a few sailboats ever since. Never, let that sight leave me. I love sailing. It's
yeah.
great. It's
What do you
fun.
love about sailing?
I think it's kinda cool when you can take something like wind from nature
Yeah.
and have like I had a 31, 32-foot sailboat, and it's a 10,000-pound vessel, and you can, have a gorgeous day out there, and you're hauling ass with people on the boat just powered by wind, and it's
Yeah.
heeling over. Or, you get a gust or, storm rolling in, and you can just wing it out there, and, or you can camp, you can
Yeah.
race other people, and you're only limited to about 8 or 9 miles an hour, so it's fun, but it feels like you're going 1,000 miles an hour when you're, on the actual boat. But
Yeah.
it's great. It's just like riding a bike. You're never gonna get, unused to it. You just love it,
Is it
seeing
hard to
nature.
say like sailing? Is it hard like a hard thing to pick up or
I'd say it's about the same as learning to drive a car. There's like a clock pretty much where, whichever way the wind is going,
yeah.
that's pretty much where you're just adjusting your sail angle and sheeting in and sheeting out. Um, but no, I mean, you could probably learn just like driving a stick,
Yeah, yeah.
either a couple hours or a couple days if you suck. But
Yeah. Yeah.
no, not super hard. Just got to mainly focus on where the wind is coming out from, and from there, you're just seeing which way to adjust the sails to achieve the most efficient course,
Yeah.
pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's cool. Would you
yeah.
ever live on a sailboat?
Definitely thought about it. But at the same time, it's like right now would be a great time to live on a sailboat, like because there's pretty much the air feels like fresh AC. But in the
Oh,
summertime,
yeah.
I have a buddy that does live on a sailboat, and his AC, because you can have an AC
Oh,
on those
wow.
boats. Yeah, you can
Okay.
get like a portable air conditioner, and he's like, dude, this thing broke again, and
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like 9,000 degrees in there. And then during winter, it's just cold in that thing.
Yeah.
Um,
And getting
but
outside, like, it's windy or cold, right?
yeah, and half the time if you have an older boat, which we're used to older boats, just most affordable. But it's definitely it'd be fun, just to do for a couple years, maybe, save up some money, get a decent boat,
Yeah,
fix it along the way, go sail to the Keys, Bahamas, or something like that, and then come back. But yeah, you see a lot of people because you can actually really just justify the price of living in a normal house or apartment. You're really only paying for the slip fee, which
right.
for, a decent sized sailboat, probably 400 to 600 bucks a month. That usually includes water and electric. So, if you're on a whim, it could be a really cool way of living. But I think once you take all things into consideration of owning a boat, you're probably like, I'd probably just live in the house,
Yeah,
be
and
an
then have the
owner.
sailboat to just
Yeah,
cruise
yeah,
around. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Or just if you're doing it on weekends,
Yeah.
I'd totally go do that for
Yeah.
sure, for
Yeah.
sure.
That's cool.
You're right.
I've always wanted to I don't know if I wanna, like, learn how to sail, but just that sail like you said, like, just the experience of, like, being on a sailboat. Like, I have this idea or vision of, like, someday I wanna own, like, a catamaran
Oh yeah, yeah,
and
those
just
are
cruise
fun.
around on those, you know?
Those are great because they don't draw much water. You can get pretty shallow. You
Oh,
got a
wow.
bigger one, 40, 50, 60 feet because the weight's kind of just dispersed on both
Yeah,
pontoons.
yeah.
So,
Makes sense.
yeah, you can get really shallow. They're popular for that. And you can get into most ports, like in the Bahamas, that are, you need like a shallow boat.
Yeah.
But they're just so big. So
Right.
it's hard to find like a slip for it if you're
Yes.
like out of town. But you can always anchor,
Right.
or have like a tender on the back of it, like a little boat,
Yeah.
like your golf cart.
Yeah.
An
Right,
Ozona
right.
tender. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
So
So,
where do you want to, like, how do you wanna grow Marker 26? Like, what's your vision for what the boat rental could be?
I mean, at this point, I've thought about that a ton, obviously, ever since I started it about a year ago, up until I'd say like January of this year. Um, it's been kind of slow. Like I've had, honestly, even spring of last year, which is what's funny enough. The best time last year is when I had the most mechanical issues on the boat.
Course.
Of
So,
course,
yeah.
just learning. So I was really only getting like 2 or 3 rentals a month. And otherwise I was just having buddies, take out the boat. Hey,
Yeah.
just go run it. Like
Yeah.
you throw me a couple bucks for gas. That's all, go because I have the logo on the side of the boat. I'm like, go sell it
Yeah.
on the island.
Right,
If you can
right,
sell it, great.
right.
You don't have to pay for gas. But up until January, it's been really picking up. I've, the Instagram that I run a ton of Google ads, a little bit of Facebook, and started just out of nowhere getting one rental a day, like clockwork from like
Cool.
late January, early February. And I'm like, where is this coming from? Because I have this app and it's like, boom, boom, boom. You got this booking, you got this booking. And I'm like, great. Now I don't have to have this thing break down. Thank God I
Yeah.
did all of the maintenance from last year
Right.
when the time was good. Of course, the boat ran great during winter, which is when nobody uses the boats.
Yeah.
And ended up just picking up a second boat late January. I'm like, all right, this thing's growing. Let's just, save up, keep going, keep working, keep selling at my normal job, and then just keep acquiring boats. And luckily, it actually had a second spot open up at the marina. Was
Yeah.
able to get the new boat in there. Had my 24/7, 368,000 mechanic on standby, rig it all up, put the motor on there. And funny enough, it's actually the same exact boat
Oh, really?
as the first one.
Yeah.
I have a little 18-foot center console, but I was looking for a pontoon or a deck boat because
Okay.
literally month to month, I probably turn down 20 people that are
Oh,
like,
that are
"Hey, like,
looking
you
for
got the
that.
pontoon? Do you have a pontoon?" I'm like, "No, I don't." That's definitely on the radar.
Yeah.
And I was looking for a pontoon or deck boat, and my mechanic, my buddy, he's like, "Hey, man, I got this hull in on trade, and I got this new motor on wholesale. I could build it into one boat if you want. The only thing is it's like the same exact boat, just a year newer." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh my God."
Yeah.
I'm like, "All right, let's do it." And
Yeah.
at that point, I was getting like substantial, like every day a week rentals. So I'm like, let's just go with it. So he finally finished it probably like early February. So it's been running ever since then. Of course, when you finish the boat, that's not when it's done. You got to keep going and keep screwing on this bolt that fell off or fix this prop someone ran it aground. But so it's been great. Have both boats now, and one at least goes out per day, if not two.
Cool.
And
Yeah.
I have my buddy Matt at the marina while I'm working. I'm like, "Hey man, like, can you get this rental? Like, dude,
Yeah.
please." Because in the app, you can actually have like a manager in there,
Okay.
like someone that, an
So
admin
similar
pretty
to,
much.
like, what, Airbnb or something like
Yeah,
that? Right.
exactly. You can have like a kid or something. Hey,
Yeah.
take this over. Make sure they look over the contract. Make sure that they know the boat is still floating.
Yeah.
The prop is still intact. It's running. Life jackets. Where are they? Fire extinguisher. Okay, great. Have them, sign on the line. And then obviously throw him a little bit of that. He's happy. He's working. He's able to make a little bit on the side.
Yeah.
But as far as expansion goes, uh, whenever I can, I'd love to just keep acquiring one at a time,
Right.
just one thing at a time. and just keep building the customer base from there. There's a ton of floating spots at the marina right now. The biggest factor is actually just waiting for one to,
Space.
yeah, because
Yeah.
in Florida, it's crazy. There's like no space
Yeah.
anywhere for boats.
Yeah.
So that's the main concern. Is just finding space and just keeping adding one at a time until I have, enough real estate there to consider, okay, this is taking 1,000% of my time. Not sure if I'm into this anymore, and then possibly because that real estate is very valuable for, like a boat club,
Oh, yeah.
or someone that's looking for marina space. Because like
Right.
Marker One Marina in Ozona, they actually just had when the last hurricane came in there, it like destroyed all their docks.
Oh,
So
yeah.
Freedom Boat Club, the one there had like 11 or 12 boats there. They had to leave. They had to move everybody out of the marina because they had to replace all the docks. And they're saying it's going to be like another 2 years before.
The docks are
Yeah,
rebuilt?
they're gone.
Wow.
I don't know if
Wow.
you've seen it. Yeah,
No.
gone. So they have like no floating real estate right there. And that was probably like, half of their freaking monthly
Yeah.
premiums coming in.
Yeah.
But yeah, so either build it up until I can just get all the spaces there. If not, looking at another marina for some space, potentially trying to see if I can bring another owner in, depending on how big
Yeah.
it is. But, number one, it doesn't feel like work. It's a hobby. And
Yeah,
number
that's
two,
cool.
a second part of it is it just makes money on the side.
Yeah.
So that's kind of just where I'm going
Yeah.
from it for now.
I like it.
But
I like
yeah.
it. What do you, what's some of your favorites like, growing up here, this would be cool, but, like, your favorite places or spots to go boating or locations to take the boat out to?
I mean, the thing also which is good, about where I'm at is that you're 10 to 15 minutes away from anything.
Yeah.
From Three Rooker, Anclote, Caladesi Island, Clearwater Beach, Honeymoon. But honestly, I mean, really anywhere where nobody's at, which is,
Yeah.
uncommon these days,
Right, right.
especially on weekends. Of
Yeah.
course, how can you blame them? But what's funny enough, probably my favorite spot is just outside of, I'm trying to think of how to describe where it is, but just south of the Dunedin Causeway, there's actually like this little island that's like a eighth of a mile away from the land.
Yeah.
It's they called it Kellogg Island because what's his name? I'm gonna screw it up. But J.W. Kellogg,
Yeah.
the guy who invented the cereal, used to
His
have his
mansion, right?
mansion right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. They just unfortunately tore it down, but
Yeah.
super cool, like 20s pink, 7,000 square foot gorgeous house
Yeah.
right by this island. And you could, if you look at pictures online, Zillow and stuff, you can actually see the island from like the little porthole in the house. But
Oh, cool.
I kind of like going there because you got like all the freaking real estate right there to look at. It's kind of inclusive, there's only a little bit of beach and not much people there, and it's shallow right there, and you
Yeah.
can still run through there. But I mean, you can't beat, Three Rooker or Caladesi. But
Mhm.
as far as just trying to find like that local hangout wherever it is now, probably that little island, Kellogg Island. It's
Yeah.
great. Everybody loves it.
I like that because and there's a bunch of little spots like that, right? That are you
Yeah,
could
kind
hop
of those
onto.
spoil islands.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
those are good. Those are especially for camping. Like, we used to
Right.
love growing up and
Yeah.
going camping on those islands and doing, it's like zero part of society is out there when you got a bunch of idiot kids camping.
Yeah.
Um, but it's great. You can obviously pick up your trash, bring it home,
Yeah.
whatever. But I mean, tons of memories growing up and everybody bringing the boats out there. Dawn of winter. It's like 40 degrees out there, but it's like, oh, Christmas break. Let's
Yeah, yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Let's go island camping. That was the thing.
Yeah.
Let's go island camping.
Yeah.
And no, it was a great time. That's probably, in my opinion, where I would go.
Yeah.
But
I love that. There's, we I forget how many years ago, we went out there for one of my wife's, like, work trips, like, to get the team together and whatnot,
oh, cool.
and we went to one of the spoil islands. Trying to think where this one it was probably close to, like, where you're talking about, but it was a little bit bigger than I think the one that you're referring to,
Yeah.
and so we're getting set up. We got, like, part of us out there getting the gear, off the boat, and don't even have the tents set up yet, probably, or they were just getting set up, not completely set up, and there's, like, this massive storm that's, like, rolling in, and we're like, "Oh,
Course, of
shit."
course,
Yeah.
of course.
Um, and, of course, like, before we can get set up, like, it rolls in, just dumps a
Black,
ton of rain. There's
cooling,
lightning
yeah.
popping
Oh,
everywhere,
man.
winds blowing, tents are like blowing over,
Oh, yeah, there's
and
like
you're
a
like,
parachute.
yeah.
Yeah, of
So it's
course.
like
When was that, like, midsummer?
it probably
Like,
was, yeah,
July,
yeah,
August,
yeah,
like, the perfect day.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
absolutely.
And then it
Yeah.
then it rolls through, and then it's like, okay, now that
Oh,
it's
yeah, and
nice,
then,
and
yeah,
yeah,
give it, like, 5 or 6 minutes
yeah.
or milliseconds, and you'll have, like, the best day ever. Yeah. Kinda coming into that season now,
I know,
coming
yeah,
into it's crazy, but perfect right now weather-wise.
yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
yep. So, excuse me.
Yeah.
I wrote down a couple of stats that I'll we kind of just talk about because I always try to learn something and find it kind of interesting and stuff. So
Hey.
in the United States, there are 14.5 million people that own a boat, and then there's like 25.2 million boats. No,
In Florida?
no, no.
Oh,
And
oh,
then,
oh, oh.
well, maybe in
I
Florida,
was gonna
right,
say,
right.
yeah.
No, but this was in the United States, right? So like 14.5 million people own boats, and that's like 12% of the population owns a boat.
Huh. Yeah.
That
Yeah.
seem about right?
That's oh, yeah. Of course. Of course.
And so most people own 2 boats then,
Right.
you know?
Right. Idiots like
Or
me.
or
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, right.
Yeah. Yeah. So, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Definitely have to pitch that to them. Like, do you realize you're the 11% right here?
Yeah.
You're leaving for Marker 26 boat rental in
Yeah.
their boat. 11% right here.
Yeah.
How do you feel?
Yeah.
You know?
There you go. And I thought this was interesting. 31% of are millennials. 31% of boat owners are millennials.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, what was the other one? Oh, 61% of the annual household income, or 61% of the boat owners have an annual household income of 100K or less.
That's
I
funny.
thought that would be like, the cost of owning a boat, right? Not
Oh,
cheap,
yeah. Yeah. Well,
right?
yeah. Yeah. Depending on what it is. But
Yeah.
if you got like my little, freaking
Yeah.
lemons
Yeah.
of boats, you're not near that. But anything new, new off the line for sure. I
Yeah.
mean, even like, well, my size boats, I have 18 footers, but like a new 18 footer is like 60s, like upper 50s,
That's
lower.
crazy.
It's nuts. The boating market's nuts.
Do a
And
lot of
then,
people buy new, or are they buying used? Because I see a lot of used boats for sale too.
oh, absolutely. Like Facebook Marketplace
Yeah.
galore. You can find
Yeah.
a used boat anywhere. Some reasonable, some not reasonable, of course. But
Yeah. Yeah.
it's funny. I mean, sometimes like in high school, I used to captain this guy's 36-foot Sea Ray, and it was brand new, but the guy had never owned a boat before that. So
Mm,
sometimes I feel like you just get those guys that are like, oh, I'm just gonna go
I
buy
need
a boat. I
new.
gotta go
Yeah.
get the newest, flashiest thing, which could be cool, if you got a captain or if you're just really dedicated to it. But
Right.
this guy that I used to work for, he'd probably bought that thing probably like 3 or 4 years ago, but to this day, like does not use it unless he's got like a guy that's willing to take him out so he can kick back, which I get it, but like other than just relaxing on the boat, he has like zero interest in it.
Yeah.
So if I could recommend anybody, just buy a used boat, see if you like it,
Yeah.
and go from there.
Start small, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. With a used boat, you might run into, a couple more problems depending on how nice it is, but you're going to be doing maintenance all day,
Yeah.
regardless of boat. It's just a boat. Break out another 1,000,
Yeah.
So, of
Yeah.
course, it's crazy.
What's is the engine? Is that like the hardest thing to maintain that always breaks down the most? Or
Yeah, kind of. It depends, but yeah, usually it revolves around the motor because if you think about it, like on the one boat, I have a Yamaha, which is Japanese, and it's pretty much like a Honda motor
yeah.
in and outboard. But if you think about it, you're running this motor in like the worst conditions, running salt water through it because obviously, they don't have like an external radiator, so it's just cycling salt water, which
Yeah.
is like the worst thing for anything metal. And you're just hoping like, all right, like you're 60 miles offshore. I hope this thing's gonna keep going.
Yeah.
But no, it's actually been good. And I've found with the boat rental that the more you use the boat regularly, like a car, usually most times, the more you won't have to do maintenance on it because you're running it like a normal vehicle. A lot, like probably 90% of boaters are not commercial fishermen, crabbers, you know, commercial fishermen, like whatever. They're not using the
Yeah.
boat every day.
Yeah.
So you got this engine that you're just letting sit for 28 days out of the month,
Oh, yeah.
and you're just expecting it to keep firing and firing and firing. Meanwhile, on the boat, on a modern boat, you got like a million things drawing electricity. You might not have the battery voltage, but even if you do, you might need a spark plug, you might need to replace a manifold, just eating away these motors. So I come to find that if the more often you're using it, usually the more it's going to just cooperate with you, act like a car. You do the maintenance on it,
Yeah.
you get the oil changes, but it's a motor. It's built to run. It's not really built to sit with a corrosive
Like in
liquid in
salt
it,
water, right, yeah.
sitting in it. And that's mainly the thing you find is people that don't use their boats typically tend to just have more problems with it. Sometimes you get that good out of the box, hey, 20,000 year warranty, it's not going to break down, and sometimes they just don't break down. But
Yeah.
I've found that the more you use it, obviously you're doing maintenance on it more because of oil changes, and it goes by hours, not my miles.
Makes sense.
Um, but you could probably see like usually out of a good motor, you'll see like 3 to 5,000 hours, which is about I would say, I'm sure I'll get a ton of it
Before it craps
before you're
out.
ready to
Yeah.
get a new motor. Just like in a car, it's probably similar, like 250 to 300,000 miles,
Okay.
usually. So, but I try to find the best motor, which is, in my opinion, a Yamaha or a
Yeah.
Honda. I have a Mercury on the other boat. It's a 2020, but it came from a crab boat. So it was being used like
Every day. Yeah.
every day, getting 200 hours on average a year. It's 4 years old. It's got like 900 hours on it right now, but that motor's been flawless. I mean, I've never had a Mercury, and I'm like, I don't know. It's not Japanese. It's not, the normal car you see driving down the road, but it's been flawless.
Yeah.
It's been a great motor, domestic motor. It's been great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
So,
Yeah, yeah, just like sitting in the salt, right?
oh, you're
And
just
then running.
asking for it.
Right.
You're rust. And it just goes to show you the craftsmanship that goes into it.
Yeah. What about like maintaining it? Like if you're gonna if you own a boat, just like what's normal maintenance expectations that someone could have?
If you're a guy looking to get into it, just know that whether it's new or used, it's usually called the 100-hour maintenance, which is just like 5,000-mile oil change. But you're going to be doing obviously the oil change, filters, gaskets, impeller, which is the thing that actually pumps the water, sucks it from the bottom and shoots it out of the back. You're doing that, grease everywhere. And on my motors, I have a 90 horse Yamaha, and then the Mercury is a 115. You're right around like $600, $700, $800 for that 100-hour maintenance.
Okay.
On average, my boats run out for $50 an hour, give or take. So if you can keep your stuff in line, make sure you're maintaining it, make sure you're greasing it, you got 1% of profitability in there
Yeah.
usually.
Yeah. A small percentage.
So, but yeah, 100 hours, but on average, the average boater does about, I think it's about 100 or 150 hours a year. For me, it's usually a month, give or take.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
in a
'Cause
year,
you're
you
running
might
it.
spend $500 to $800 if nothing else,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, give or take.
Do you do the maintenance yourself or yeah?
I don't. I probably would just ruin everything if I did.
Yeah.
Just a natural touch, hence owning a boat rental company. It just always seems to happen. But
Yeah.
like I said, my buddy Aiden, he owns Anchor Marine. He does all my maintenance. I mean, I've called this kid at 1 a.m., dude. It's not working. I got a rental first thing in the morning.
Oh,
What can
yeah.
you do? So he has been like a godsend for me.
Yeah.
He's a buddy I grew up with in high school.
Cool.
And he's been an apprentice for another boat mechanic, and he's probably been in the industry 3 to 4 years, and love the guy. I mean, he's just
Yeah.
like any other guy probably would have blocked my number and gone on suicide watch list with me. But
Yeah.
he's been great. I mean, he's a great guy.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
gotta have someone like that. Right?
Absolutely. If you got a business like that where it's just maintenance, you got to have that guy
Yeah.
stand by, or
Right,
else you're
right.
just like, looks like I got to figure this out for myself, but
Yeah.
it could just, sink the next day. Motor could fail, but, at least with a guy like Aiden, it's going 2% right
Yeah.
compared to 1. So,
Yeah. That's
That's good.
like with the rental space, like home rentals, like you need a handyman,
Yes.
right? Like you gotta have someone
Yes.
that's
Not just the
reliable that
landlord
right.
polish up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, where can
Absolutely.
people rent a boat from you, find more info about you, follow you?
Yeah, absolutely. If you just look on Google, Marker 26 boat rental. If you're in the Palm Harbor area, you can just look up boat rental near me. I'm usually one of the top 50 that show up. But marker26 boatrental.com or my cell, you'll see it right there on the Google page.
Cool.
Usually.
And what
Awesome,
2
man.
boats do you have right now for
I have
rent?
an 18-foot Aquasport and an 18-foot Aquasport. It's 2 boats,
Yeah.
they're the same.
Same.
One's got a little bit more power, one doesn't, they both go perfect, though.
Yeah.
So and just know when you go out on it, it may have just been worked on the whole night previously just to fit you for that day.
Yes.
So, that's the craftsmanship that we do at Marker 26.
Yes, always
Yeah.
maintaining.
Absolutely,
I love it.
absolutely.
Jackson, thanks for
Awesome.
being here, man.
Thank you for having me. Absolutely.